Who is your favorite tag team of all time? Put it in the comments section right now. Don't worry, I'll wait. Done? Good. Alright, I was always an Eliminators guy. I saw them take on Rob Van Dam and Chris Jericho at an untelevised ECW show, and they absolutely blew my mind. Double team moves, cool ring name, matching gear, just everything a tag team should be. So that's why it's always so weird when like hodgepodge tag teams take the championships, they don't have any of those things. I'm Senior Siete for 7 Wrestling. Let's take a look at 7 teams you forgot were WWE Tag Team Champions. Now, before we get into this, we appreciate your support, so if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the total elimination on that notification bell. Oh, and we know some of you are going to remember all 7 of these teams, and if you do, you'll be awarded 107 wrestling points at the end of the video.
7 wrestling points have no monetary value and are worthless.
Number 1, CM Punk. The end of 2008 and the very beginning of 2009 was a very weird time for CM Punk. Second City Saint was holding 3 different titles in a very short period of time. Punk cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase in the summer of 2009 to claim his first world title from Edge on the June 30th, 2008 episode of Monday Night Raw. This would kick off one of the weirder world title reigns in modern memory. Since Punk was still kind of viewed as a mid-carder at the time, he wasn't given any significant wins over his contenders. Now, sometimes you can get away with that if it's a bad guy using shenanigans to get by, but Punk was still very much a babyface. Add to that the fact that Punk's title defenses were buried on the card behind 2 or 3 other bigger matches, and the whole thing was a dud. A dud that was put out of its misery in the loseriest way possible, with Punk being attacked before his title defense in a championship scramble match at the Unforgiven pay-per-view, and they just kind of seemingly went on without him. Punk would win the Intercontinental title early the next year, but he also had somewhat of a forgotten consolation tag team title reign with a good buddy of his. Any guesses? Well, it was none other than the master of the boom drop, the future proponent of the power of positivity, Mr. Kofi Kingston. The duo would win the belts from Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase on October 27, 2008 episode of Monday Night Raw, and then drop them in a live event to The Miz and John Morrison about a month and a half later. Number 2. Miz and Friends. Speaking of The Miz, the WWE's must-see superstar takes a lot of grief from a lot of people, and sometimes rightfully so. I mean, he's a good character and all, but I don't think I've ever once been excited to see one of his matches. By all accounts, he's a good guy, a great corporate citizen, and the guy definitely married well. But one thing that is often overlooked is The Miz's ability to get people he works with over. Damien Sandow wasn't doing much of anything when he became The Miz's stunt double. Their goofy antics got so over that people were legitimately heartbroken when Mizdow lost the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania 31. Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas were floundering when The Miz made him part of his Miztourage. They were able to springboard from there into a somewhat entertaining run as the B Team. Even Alex Riley, who was Miz's right hand during his world title reign, got an explosive reaction when he finally turned against the A-lister. And Miz has done well with the variety of tag team partners. I loved the Dirt Sheet era Miz and Morrison. Him and the Big Show as Show Miz was pretty entertaining. Awesome Truth, both the evil heel and wacky buddies iterations. But the one that made this list, the one that's both forgettable and deserves to be forgotten, is the time The Miz teamed up with Shane McMahon to win the tag team titles. This fiasco started off when Shane McMahon replaced The Miz in the WWE World Cup Tournament final at the 2018 Crown Jewel event, and this wasn't even the worst thing to happen at that show, as our main event was this train wreck. McMahon and Miz would team up in a kinda mismatched buddies tag team and claim the SmackDown tag team titles from the Bar at the following Royal Rumble. They'd only hold those belts for a few weeks before dropping them to the Usos at the Elimination Chamber. From there, Shane would turn heel and defeat The Miz at WrestleMania 35, but The Miz would bide his time and play the long game and get revenge 4 years later at Mania in the rematch when he used his mind powers to make Shane McMahon tear his quad. Number 3, the Dashing Ones. In the WWE, it's possible that 2024 belonged to Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. Cody out-politicked the friggin' Rock, finished the damn story, and has been enjoying a respectable reign with the undisputed WWE title. Drew McIntyre finally found that missing piece, which was apparently just being an internet troll, and has become one of the best bad guys in the business. He also participated in what is probably my match of the year, the Hell in a Cell bout he had with CM Punk. Both of these stories are kind of similar. They were both believed to be headed for big things early on, with Cody being the son of a plumber, and Drew being pegged as the chosen one by Vince McMahon. Oof, that's a really bad sentence. Both failed to live up to expectations, both relegated to silly gimmicks, both left the company, found themselves, and came back as more rounded performers who were ready to claim their spots in the main event. But something that often gets forgotten is the fact that when they were both floundering to find their place in the company, they paired up for a bit and even won the tag team titles. Dashing Cody Rhodes and the chosen one Drew McIntyre were known as the Dashing Ones. Clever, right? And yeah, the one with the dark hair and the jacket, that's Cody. I know it's difficult to recognize him when he doesn't have the world's worst tattoo. The duo would team very briefly in 2010 before winning the tag team belts in a tag team turmoil match at that year's Night of Champions. For whatever reason, this pairing didn't last very long, as they would drop the titles a little over a month later at bragging rights to John Cena and... I'm sorry, wait, who? Number 4, Cena lauded tag belts. John Cena and David Otunga. This David Otunga. Huh. One of the worst things about Vince McMahon's late-stage tag team booking is that he clearly didn't give a crap about the belts. I've often heard that the idea of paying 4 men for a match when you could just pay 2 was absurd to him. That money is much better spent on non-disclosure agreements. Now, a great example of his lack of respect for tag teams is when Triple H squared off against the Raw Tag Team Champions Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch in a handicap match on the September 17th, 2007 episode of Monday Night Raw. First of all, look at those tights. It's like he has wings on the back. And second, know that Hunter beat the tag team champions single-handedly. Carlito would help Cade and Murdoch beat down Triple H afterwards because 2-on-1 isn't a big enough advantage, but Hunter would be saved by Brian Kendrick and Paul London. Then, just for funsies, Triple H would single-handedly beat them up too. You know, the 2 guys who just came and saved his ass. Oh, and best of all, Hunter was a good guy during all of this. Now, this is a long way of saying I hate when the tag team belts are used to add heat to a singles feud, and nobody did this more than Jonathan Montgomery Cena. He and Shawn Michaels held the belts for a little over 2 months. Okay, well, that's respectable. He and Batista had it for 7 days, so, you know, less respectable. He and the aforementioned David Otunga had them for a single day, and he and The Miz had them for like 9 minutes. Oh, and that's not me exaggerating for comedic effect. Miz and Cena won and lost them in the same night. Not stupid at all. Oh, and speaking of a lot of partners, number 5. A lot of friggin' partners. It says a lot about how awesome the Shield was that... sorry, not that Shield. That Shield. It says a lot about how actually that Shield is pretty awesome too. If you get a chance, definitely check this series out. It says a lot about how awesome the WWE faction The Shield was, that we're 10 years removed from the original breakup, and we still think of that trio as a unit. And Seth Rollins, the then architect, now proponent of the adjective freakin', had some memorable tag team reigns with both Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. Say Reigns again. Funny thing is, Rollins is in that same boat with Cena, where he's held the tag team titles roughly 40 times with his many different weird partners. In late 2017, he captured the gold with Kurt Angle's kid Jason Jordan. In 2019, he held the belts with Braun Strowman. And in 2020, during his Monday Night Messiah phase, he was champions with Buddy Murphy. Oh, Buddy. Number 6, right to not remember. Tag team wrestling had been in the dumps in the late 90s. It was so bad that in order to determine tag team title contenders for friggin' WrestleMania, a battle royal was held during the pre-show, and the last 2 competitors would be magically mushed together as a tag team. This ended up with the renowned pairing of Test and D'Lo Brown getting a title shot on the biggest show of the year, they were not successful in defeating the reigning tag team champions at the time, Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett. Later that year, a pair of young, high-flying teams, the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian, would square off in a best-of-5 tournament to determine who would win $100,000 and receive Terry Runnels as a manager. Terry's managerial services were highly regarded for some reason, I guess, and if you needed those reasons spelled out for you, the tournament was called the Terry Invitational Tournament, or TIT for short. Attitude Era. Anyhow, this series of matches culminated in a banger of a ladder match at that year's No Mercy, and it turned all 4 of those men into stars. Add the Dudley Boys to the equation as they did later that year, and you had all the makings of a pretty decent tag team division. The 6 men would absolutely steal the show at WrestleMania 2000 when they faced off in a triangle ladder match for the tag team titles. From there, the trio of teams would dominate the tag team scene and once again leave jaws on the floor with their amazing TLC matches at that year's SummerSlam and the following WrestleMania. Well, dominate with the exception of 3 short reigns from 3 very different teams. The hip-hop duo Too Cool would hold the title for a few weeks over the summer of 2000. The super team, Undertaker and The Rock, would have the belts for a day in the tail end of the year, another McMahon special, and Bull Buchanan and the good father of the Right to Censor would sneak in a very quick reign as well. Now, you'll be forgiven if you don't remember the Godfather's brief run where he renounced his pimpy ways and joined up with the No Fun Coalition. Apparently, this tag team title reign was an attempt by Vince McMahon to keep the Godfather from quitting the company, seeing as he hated losing out on the most popular gimmick he had ever had. Number 7. Partner Swap. When we think of Bret Hart and tag team wrestling, we're always going to think of the Pink and Black Attack, the Hart Foundation, where Bret teamed up with his brother-in-law and goatee enthusiast Jim Neidhart. Yes, he'd team with other people, even winning the WCW tag team titles with his best friend Bill Goldberg, but for the most part, we're always going to remember him with the Anvil. If you think about it, there are quite a few tag team guys that went on to win belts with a variety of folks. Think of Shawn Michaels, and tag teams, you're going to think of Marty Jannetty, but the Rockers technically never held the belts. But Shawn did claim the gold with Triple H, John Cena, and Kevin Nash. When you think of Edge, probably think of Christian, but he also held the championships with Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, hey, 3 Canadian Chris's. He also held the belts with Hulk Hogan, Rey Mysterio, and Randy Orton. Which brings us to Alexa Bliss and Asuka. Odds are, when you think of this duo in the World Tag Team Championship, you probably imagine Alexa holding the gold with her Bliss Cross applesauce partner Nikki Cross. Yeah, they actually sold a shirt with that logo on it. Do you have one? No, you don't. And Asuka, you probably think of her with her Kabuki Warriors partner Kairi Sane. So it was very weird to see Bliss and Asuka pairing up to win the belts from Damage Control on the October 31st, 2022 episode of Monday Night Raw. This reign would be extremely short-lived as they dropped the straps back to Damage Control less than a week later at Crown Jewel. Well, there's our list. Did we forget any other tag team champs you probably forgot about us? So please leave them in the comments section below. Also, if you enjoyed this, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and F5 that notification bell. Until next time, I'm Singer Siete for 7 Wrestling saying bye-bye.